What's going on, everyone? I'm AB Sports. I'm back for part 3 of the top 100 players going into the 2021 season. Today's video will be numbers 50 all the way down to 26. Let's get into it. Number 50 is Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs, the second highest rated defensive tackle, which means he's only behind Aaron Donald, which should probably be considered the number one player at the position because Donald's just different. Chris Jones is a master at batted passes. That is the best thing he does. He is so tall and just has vision to be able to engage with the offensive lineman and also watch the quarterback and be able to stick up his hand in the air and bat away the pass right as the quarterback throws it. 49 is Fred Warner. I didn't even know how great he was until I started diving into stuff to start making this list. Like his Pro Football Focus grades and stuff are just off the charts, and his pass coverage grade, and he just became the highest paid linebacker in the NFL. So the Niners believe in him, and he was a second round pick a couple years ago and has really blossomed into an NFL superstar. 48, Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger of the Kansas City Chiefs. I have him ranked as safety number 2. His official position is a safety, but he really is a defensive chess piece. He can play linebacker, corner, slot corner, safety, but I think the best aspect about him is his leadership. When the Chiefs first got Mahomes, they had a bad defense. And then they brought Mathieu in, and he sort of acted almost like a Chris Paul with the Suns, you could say, on the Chiefs defense, and brought a lot of young players that had a lot of talent together and acted as a leader on the back end of their defense, and he was a big reason they got to the Super Bowl both these last 2 seasons. 47, Justin Simmons. Simmons might be the most underrated player in the NFL. There's no one in the top 50 whose name is mentioned less. I was talking about how Tyrann Mathieu and Jamal Adams and those guys can play every position. The one thing they're missing a lot is forcing turnovers. Simmons does what they can do and is also like a Minkah Fitzpatrick, where he can grab the ball out of the air at all times and juke people out and start running back for defensive touchdowns like an Eddie Jackson can do. He's like every safety on this list combined into one, so he has to be number 1. 46, Keenan Allen, the best route runner in the NFL. The way that he is able to get open for rookie quarterback Justin Herbert and for Phillip Rivers these last few years is unbelievable. Keenan Allen was known as injury prone early in his career, but has played 4 or 5 seasons without missing games, catches 100 passes a year. Quarterbacks can throw it his direction and just know he's going to juke somebody out and get open in the end zone and make them look good for putting the ball at the perfect spot. 45, Zack Martin, the 3rd highest rated offensive lineman. One of the best decisions in Cowboys franchise history was drafting Zack Martin over Johnny Manziel back in the 2012 draft. That was what they were down to. It was Martin or Manziel, and we all know where Manziel is now. He's been bouncing around in the CFL, and Zack Martin is still an elite player, blocking for Dak and Zeke. He should be a Hall of Famer, I think. 44, Khalil Mack. Mack's sack numbers have been down the last few years, but he's still been great against the run and been good at drawing a double team for the other defenders on the Bears to be able to rush the passer more and put more pressure on the opposing quarterback. But he is still very much a threat every time a team lines up against the Bears. 43, Chase Young. If Chase Young's in the top 10 next year, I wouldn't be surprised. He was a rookie last year, and I have him all the way up at 43, defensive end number 9, which just shows you how good the defensive ends are if Chase Young is 9 and Khalil Mack is 10. Young is a physical freak, and he transformed that Washington defensive line and got them to the playoffs. I know the NFC East was bad, but rallied that defense to number 1 in the NFC East, and he even had the guts to, at the end of Week 17, run off the field yelling, "I want Tom," because they were playing the Bucs in the first round of the playoffs. For a rookie to have the guts to say that shows a lot about the player and shows a lot about what he's going to be able to do in his future. 42, Stephan Gilmore of the New England Patriots, cornerback. I had him in the top 10 last year, and he was Defensive Player of the Year in 2019. But he kind of, like the whole Patriots team, took a step back this year. They lost Brady and had 8 other players opt out for COVID reasons. After the 2019 season, I could not possibly lower him any more than cornerback number 5, just because of the way he's shown in previous seasons of his career how good he can be. but just going into 2021, I think he may have peaked and might be heading down on his career, but I'll take a 80% Stephan Gilmore over most other corners in the league. Number 41 is Chandler Jones. Jones only played 5 or 6 games last year before having an injury that forced him out of the year, and the Cardinals defense really struggled as a result. He's the centerpiece of their defense. He's what it revolves around. His pressure makes all the defensive backs and linebackers look better, and he should still be a monstrous performer for the Cardinals. 40, Danielle Hunter. Hunter did not play a single game last year because he hurt his neck during the preseason, and it was too bad of an injury for him to still be able to play. And the Vikings defense struggled. They had an awesome offense last year. Think about how big of seasons Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen had, and Minnesota still didn't make the playoffs because they could not stop anybody. Their run defense was terrible. Their pass defense was terrible. They've always had bad corners. It's just the corners didn't have to guard the wide receivers as long because Hunter was always hitting the quarterback so early. 39, Nick Chubb. Browns running back number 5 overall. Nick Chubb is awesome. He does not get talked about among the league's top running backs because he's not a big fantasy guy because he doesn't catch a lot of passes, but he gets the job done. There's maybe no one that runs harder and more physical in the league for his size than Nick Chubb does. He's not huge, but he sprints through guys and just kind of sticks his arm out and they fall over. 38 is Darius Smith of the Green Bay Packers. Edge rusher number 6. Smith is a terror in the run game. If you watch Packers highlights, anytime an opposing running back will try to bounce out to the outside, Smith just does not let them get out there. And if that was all he did, he wouldn't necessarily be worth a top 40 ranking, but he also rushes the passer. He's 3rd or 4th in sacks in the last 3 or 4 seasons after leaving Baltimore and going to the Packers. 37 is another Packer, David Bakhtiari, the best pass-blocking offensive lineman in the NFL. Bakhtiari protects Aaron Rodgers' blindside. He's done it for 6 or 7 years, and that's why Rodgers is one of the least hit quarterbacks in the league and has time to run around in the backfield to throw his Hail Marys or wait for Devontae Adams to get open. Bakhtiari is a special player, and it really showed in the playoffs when he tore his ACL at practice, and the Packers had to play without him. 36, Julio Jones. Wide receiver 9 might seem outrageous to some of you guys for a player of Julio Jones' caliber, but I'm sort of projecting into the 2021 season thinking how Jones is going to play, and I think he's going to be the 3rd option in his offense. I think Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown are better players at this stage of their career than Julio Jones is, and I think for that reason his numbers are going to suffer a little bit, and he's not going to feel like the dominant all-pro receiver he was when he was in Atlanta. Still top 36 in the NFL. There's over 1,600 players, so that's nothing to bat an eye at. 35, DK Metcalf. Julio Jones Jr., as I like to call him. And maybe has the potential to be even better. The criticism of Metcalf coming out of college was he couldn't run routes very well. And he's able to get open because he's just faster and bigger, and if he bumps into a corner, they fall over. The play where he catches Buda Baker really shows the kind of player he is. It shows his speed, and it shows how he never wants to give up on a play, and that's what I like in a player. 34, Stefon Diggs, who had an unbelievable season after getting traded from the Vikings to the Bills. He made Josh Allen so much better, and I think Josh Allen made him a lot better. Diggs and Allen had a special connection. Diggs led the league in receptions and receiving yards last season, and should have another big year, and the Bills team that I think has a really good shot at the Super Bowl this year. Number 33 is Shaq Barrett. Barrett was on the Broncos for the first 4 years of his career, and had less sacks than he did in one season that he did with the Bucs. This has been his 2nd year terrorizing offenses as a member of Tampa. He was a big reason they got to the Super Bowl last year and had a big performance all throughout the playoffs. 32, Davious White, the 4th highest ranked corner. There just are not many shutdown corners left in the NFL. It is hard to complete passes on Davious White. You know when some of these top wide receivers in the league start to get mad when you're guarding them, you're doing something right. I remember DK Metcalf getting mad that he just could not get a reception when White was covering him. 31, Calvin Ridley. I predicted Ridley was going to have a breakout season last year. I was all over him in the 4th round of fantasy drafts right before the 2020 season, but even I didn't think he'd be as good as he did. A lot of times, a player is awesome as a number 2 wide receiver, and then when they step into the spotlight as the number 1 guy, they can't get it done. Think like Juju in 2018 with Antonio Brown. But Julio Jones got hurt halfway through the year, and Ridley was still unbelievable in his absence. He just does things. He'll start off on a route, and then he'll leave the picture on the TV, and then he'll just be wide open. I don't understand how he does it, but Calvin Ridley is an awesome wide receiver. 30, Jaire Alexander, the 3rd highest ranked cornerback in the NFL. Alexander is not the kind of guy that gets interceptions, but there is so much more to playing cornerback than just interceptions. If you're covering the guy well, the quarterback isn't going to throw it to the wide receiver. They'll throw it somewhere else. That's just how it works. NFL quarterbacks are smarter than that. He locks down Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay, Mike Evans, all these guys that are on this list at wide receiver cannot get receptions off against Jaire Alexander. 29, Mike Evans. He has 1,000 yards in all 7 seasons of his career. There are very few wide receivers in the NFL better than Mike Evans. And one of them, I think, is A.J. Brown. Early 2nd round pick by the Titans in 2019. He's got 1,000 yards both seasons of his career, and the way he gets those yards is outstanding. The Titans do not throw the ball very much. They are one of the most run-heavy teams in the NFL. Brown got 1,000 yards on 20 yards per catch. And he's not some deep ball, one-trick pony, Mike Williams or Nelson Aguilar type player. He catches passes underneath and just won't be brought down or runs around the guy. And the best wide receiver he's played with on the other side in his career is Corey Davis. So now there's a chance A.J. Brown might be guarded by teams' number 2 cornerbacks. If the number 1 guy's on Julio, Brown might just explode this season if that's the case. 27, Deshaun Watson, a very controversial player in the NFL right now. I have no idea what's going to happen to him. He could get traded, he could play for the Texans, he could go to prison. There's some disturbing stuff being said about him, but on the football fields, you cannot deny he is ridiculously talented. 26, Devin White, the fastest defensive player in the NFL, I would say, or based off how fast he looks on the field. He flies around, he blitzes, he covers tight ends and running backs out of the backfield, makes ridiculous tackles. He was the 5th overall pick by the Bucs a couple years ago. Inside linebackers don't usually go that high in the draft, but it was well worth it as a draft pick. 3rd highest rated linebacker in the NFL, in my opinion, and really is the spark of that Bucs defense. That was numbers 50 to 26. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, how about leaving a like and subscribing to the channel? Number 25 to 11 will come next, and then part 5 will be the top 10. Thanks for watching.